Our second speaker has been a Toastmaster since 1992, and she is presenting an icebreaker speech for the 24th time. And she will keep doing it until she gets it right. With a speech about her younger days, a youngster in rural Wisconsin, let's welcome Dolores Weck.
Thank you, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guests. Yes, to look at me now, you never knew I grew up in Wisconsin, would you?
No.
You probably would. I have given a number of icebreakers previously, and I don't believe I've ever spoken about my middle years, not middle age, because that wasn't that long ago. But I would say middle years, elementary school into high school. And for those of you who are young in our audience, those are great, great times. Enjoy them. I grew up in rural Wisconsin, just outside the city of Green Bay. Go Packers. Yeah. The Packers were rather new team when I was a youngster back in 1936. They used to play in Green Bay East High School football field. All the kids in the area would go and peek through the holes in the walls, you know how they would have those old wooden fences. But when I was in elementary school, we lived pretty far out of town, but across the street from where we lived on our 1 acre of land was a Lutheran church with a Lutheran elementary school, 1st grade through 8th grade. So it was very handy. The nearest public school, I don't even know where it was, and I've been back there a number of times. I'm not sure where there was a public school in the whole area, except to drive for miles and miles. So I went to the Lutheran school across the street. It was a road, really. I like to call it a street. I entered that school in grade 2. Grade 1 I did in Green Bay. We lived in the city at that time for 1 year. But in grade 2, we moved out to the country. I started in this little school, and in the 2nd grade class, there were 3 people. I was one, and there were 2 boys. Now this, picture in your mind, a 1-room country school. Wisconsin is cold in the winter. So we had a big pot-belly stove at the back of the room. You would enter through a door, up a few steps, go into the cloak room, where you would take off all of your winter clothes. I'm going to give you winter because that was the most exciting. Take off your boots, take off your cap, take off your overcoat, take off everything else that you could, hang it up in the cloakroom. Go into the classroom. 1st grade sat here, 2nd grade, these are all rows of desks. 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th were together, 7th and 8th were together. So here I was, a little 7-year-old in the 2nd grade, with 2 boys in my grade also. These boys were not really smart, I can tell you that. Because when I was the smartest one in the class, you know what the rest of them were like. Well, we learned the usual things: reading, writing, arithmetic, the basics. We had to know how to get along with your neighbor, how to be a good citizen, how to do this, how to do that, how to lead a happy life, how to just waltz through life and have everyone wait on you. None of that. The basics. Oh, we had geography, and we had music about twice a year, I think. A roving music teacher came along, and we sang songs. So that was a lot of fun. As I progressed through the grades, I got up to the 3rd grade, and the teacher said, "Why don't you help me teach reading to the 1st graders?" So I said, "Okay, I'll be happy to do that." And, you know, little old me, a future teacher, but I didn't know it. I helped teach reading to the 1st graders. And as it went along, I would help teach whatever it was to the grade behind me, behind me, behind me, and behind. So while I was teaching them and learning my own curriculum, I was also listening to the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And by the time I got to the 8th grade, I knew it all already. Little Miss, know it all. Right. It was quite an education, learning in a small, one-room country school. It was really a lot of fun. It was really a good basic education. And I think that kids today don't get quite that same basic education that I got and other people of my generation. George is nodding in agreement. We learned basics, and we learned them well. We knew how to speak. We knew how to spell. We knew how to say all of the prepositions, until, by, into, after, from, across, against, with, toward, on, etc., etc. We learned all of those things, and to this day, whenever I have to think of, should I use me or my, me or I, him, his, whatever, I go back to until, by, into, after, from, across, against, with, toward, on. If it's one of those words and those that followed, I knew I had to use a certain part of the English language. Well, as time went on, I progressed all the way to the 8th grade, and let me tell you, you see before you the top student in the 8th grade. Yay! Yay! Now, you see before you the bottom student in the 8th grade. You see before you the only student in the 8th grade. So that is a little bit of the background I'm bringing you today to mix in with all the other things you know about me or think you do. And so I hope that you will think about some of those days yourself back when you were in elementary school. I'm sure your experience was different from mine. But remember those days, cherish them, and let them be a good influence on you now and in the future.